Hey there! Welcome to Uncomplicate Your Business, a weekly show where I share how you can keep things simple and strategic to create a business and life on your terms. Today, I have an important question to ask you guys, and if you are joining me live, I would love to have you answer this. Do you ever feel like, as an entrepreneur, you wish you just had the ultimate checklist to share with you what you should be focusing on step by step to grow your business? I know that when I started, I sure wish I had something like that. And in fact, I hear from entrepreneurs all the time who are out there getting information, they're getting insights and ideas on how to grow their business, but it's coming like one piece from over here, one piece from over here, and they almost end up with this, Frankenstein business where things are just duct taped together, and as a result, they're not getting where they want to go. In fact, just recently, I chatted with an entrepreneur who was just incredibly smart, so educated, so qualified to do the work that she wants to do in the world. But by the time she came to chat with me, she said, Rach, here's my challenge. I have taken training after training after training, and it feels like I'm constantly shifting direction. And as a result, I'm not getting where I want to go. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're just constantly adding more pieces to the puzzle, but it's like you don't even know what the puzzle looks like. Like you've never seen the lid of that puzzle box. And as a result, you're adding more and more, but nothing really fits together. Have you ever felt that way? I know that when I first started in my business over 10 years ago, I was that way. I didn't really know the direction I was going. I didn't really know what my business was going to look like. So I was just trying to figure it out as I went. And it wasn't until I actually saw the big picture that things started to fall into place. So that's what I want to share with you today. I want to share with you what I call the ultimate business growth checklist. And this is something that you might have caught a previous episode of Uncomplicate Your Business. I've shared a business growth checklist in the past, and we're going to talk about what goes into this business growth checklist. But I actually went even deeper because my students were asking more and more questions. And I realized that if I could break this down, it would just solve so many of those problems. And instead of people feeling like, again, you're just grabbing puzzle pieces from everywhere, from everybody, they've all got a different puzzle and you're just grabbing pieces from them. And as a result, nothing fits together. Now we're going to start with a bigger picture of what your business could look like and make sure you're getting the right pieces of the puzzle in place instead of kind of putting your business together with duct tape. And that's not what we want for your business. So let's talk about the different stages of business and what goes into the business growth checklist, because there's a couple of different pieces of the puzzle here. There's a couple different things I want you to know. First, not all strategies are meant for every entrepreneur. The strategy that makes sense for you right now really depends on your stage of business. So often, a lot of the things that we are hearing, that we are seeing on Instagram or that we're seeing on Facebook ads, we're seeing out there, are strategies that are actually meant for people who are a bit further along in their business. And here's my example of this. I have seen people buy programs designed to teach them how to do something like create an automated webinar funnel, but they don't even have a brand or a business or an offer in place. So it's like they're jumping so far ahead, they're trying to run before they can really walk. When you do that in your business, you're setting yourself up for a lot of frustration. So if you've ever experienced or seen someone experience trying to launch something and you're just not getting the results you had hoped for, trying to put a bigger strategy in place, especially things that are automation or funnels or bigger sales strategies where you're shifting into attracting a lot of people at a time and you're just not seeing the results, the chances are you're reaching for a strategy that maybe you aren't quite ready yet. And like anything else in life, you have to walk before you can run. And even scratch that, you have to crawl before you can walk, before you can run, right? Like you can't just magically skip through that process. If my goal was to run a marathon, I have to learn how to run first. I am not a runner by any stretch of the imagination. So I actually have to learn how to run, and then I have to improve my running and learn how to get the right techniques down to run long distance. And then I have to train and get to that point where I can run a marathon. Running a marathon out the gate is not going to happen. And entrepreneurship is the same way. Trying to blow straight into those scaling strategies that are sexy and that we're hearing about all the time, it's often just not an awesome fit for everybody. So if that's you and you have an inkling that maybe that's the reason you've been struggling in your business, or you're just not seeing the results that you want, I would love for you to first grab the business growth checklist. I'm actually going to share it with you, not only today, but I'm going to give you a copy. And like I said, this is the exact business growth checklist that I teach inside my signature online mastermind program, Sweet Spot Strategy. So if you type download, if you are here with me on Facebook Live and type download in the comments, you will instantly get the business growth checklist sent to you via Facebook Messenger. Now, if you're checking this out on another platform, whether it is on my Instagram Live, on YouTube later, or on my podcast later, make sure you head over to Facebook or to my website at rachealcook.com. You can also get the copy of the business growth checklist. I promise once we walk through this, you are going to want this copy because it's going to alleviate so much of the stress for you. So let's take a peek at what's inside the business growth checklist and talk about these stages of business. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm sharing my screen right now and showing you my business growth checklist here. And how did I come up with this? I came up with this because my clients were asking me for it. Like everything. When you guys ask me for stuff, when I see you're struggling with something and I think, oh, I can simplify this for you, I put it into a checklist. So you can see this checklist is broken up into 3 stages of business. First, the startup stage. Second, the success stage. And third, the scale and sustain stage. So let's talk about each of these stages so you can figure out where you actually are in this journey and figure out what you need to focus on in order to level up into that next stage of business. Okay. So again, if you are on live with me on Facebook and you type in download, you're going to get this checklist sent right to you directly via Facebook Messenger. If you're on Instagram Live or checking out via the podcast or YouTube or anywhere we syndicate this show, make sure you pop over to the Facebook Live version so that you can get that checklist. Okay, so I'm going to flip back over here and let's start by talking about the startup stage. The startup stage is a stage we all have to go through. And y'all, no one skips the startup stage. It's just like you can't skip being a toddler. We all got to go through this. We've all got to figure out the foundational pieces of our business. So this is the most challenging stage of business. And I'm going to be really, really honest. A lot of people don't make it past this stage. They get stuck here and stay here for a long time. So what is your focus if you are in the startup stage of your business? If you're in the startup stage of your business, the number one use of your time and energy is spent on validation. It's on validating your business idea. It's on validating your products, programs, and services. Okay. So if you don't take the time to validate that people actually want and will pay for what you have to offer, you're going to find yourself running into a lot of problems as you try to implement higher level strategies. So for example, the person I was referencing before who decided, oh, I'm going to create this fancy, sophisticated webinar funnel, but they actually didn't validate the program they wanted to offer at the end of that. When the results aren't there, it's going to be very challenging to move past that. And unfortunately, I see this over and over again. People who spend a lot of time focusing on creating sophisticated sales strategies or creating a very expensive visual brand. You have to focus on validation first. So how do you do that? You get out there and you talk to people. There is no validation without actually talking to real, actual human beings on the other side. If you're trying to validate in a bubble, then you can't be surprised when you launch it out into the world and people aren't interested in what you have to offer. The biggest challenge in that startup stage is being in that bubble, right? A lot of times I hear from entrepreneurs who are so precious about their ideas. They don't want to share anything. They're worried people are going to take their ideas. They are worried people are going to judge their ideas. But you have to validate those ideas. And the only way to validate them is get them in front of real live people. So hiding yourself away and trying to perfect your ideas for your business or your products, programs, or services is not going to get you where you want to go. But what will get you there faster is interacting with your audience. And in fact, having your audience co-create what it is you want to build. When they give you feedback about what is working or what they want, you will be able to deliver that product, program, or service a lot faster and with a lot better results. Okay, so the next piece of being in the startup stage is understanding your primary marketing and sales strategy. And I just want to reiterate here, y'all, I am talking right now about people who are businesses like mine. You're a solopreneur, you're a coach, you're a consultant, you're a teacher, you're a trainer. You aren't a Silicon Valley startup with venture funding. And maybe some people have a trust fund they can lean back on and their business doesn't actually have to make money for a long time. But that was not the reality for me. And for a lot of the clients I work with, their business needs to make money and it needs to make money quickly. They don't have years and years to wait for their business to grow. They need that business to start being profitable within 6 to 12 months. So how do you do that? Primarily focusing on one-to-one marketing and sales in that startup stage. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Rach, everybody's talking about, I need to be list building and I need to be thinking about, regular content marketing and all of these pieces that are getting your audience to grow very quickly. Those are great. But once you shift into one-to-many marketing strategies, which is speaking through an email list or doing content that's kind of getting information out in front of a lot of people at the same time, it's actually a little bit longer of a process to build that audience to the point where they can sustain the sales you're looking for. Okay, I'll say that again. It takes a lot longer to build your audience to that point where they can sustain the level of sales you're looking for. This is so important. If you need to be bringing in $2,500 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month and you don't have a year to build an audience of, 5,000 people on your email list, you might be better served focusing on nurturing those one-on-one relationships and having real one-on-one conversations. So that's my recommendations for stage 1, the startup stage of your business. Now, does that mean that you can never flip and start, building that list or putting yourself out there in a bigger way and speaking to many more people? Absolutely not. My goal for you is to get through that startup stage as quickly as you can. I have seen people get through this startup stage in as little as a few months when they're willing to do the work and they get out there and validate by talking to real people as quickly as they can. These little tick boxes get checked off very, very, very quickly. Then we move into the success stage. Now, the success stage is actually a stage some people are happy to stay in. Like if you have a lifestyle business and your goal is to simply focus on, paying yourself a decent salary. So let's say you want to pay yourself something like, $5,000 a month. You might not actually need to build a business that grows beyond $10,000 a month in revenue. And that means you could comfortably live in the success stage without any complicated sales or marketing strategies by primarily focusing on your business sweet spot, which of course is what I teach inside of Sweet Spot Strategy. In this stage, what are the things that you need to be focused on? So one thing I want you to be thinking about is as you shift out of the startup stage and into the success stage, the good news is you validated something. You know that you have something people actually want to buy. And now your focus is making that better. Okay? It's getting more experience. And this is where I see a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of times I see people launch a program for the first time and they do all the work that goes into it. They created the program, they filled the program, they ran the program, and then they come back around and say, what's next? And they want to create something all new, which puts you up against a whole new learning curve. And it means you're constantly starting over. You're constantly starting over and never taking the time to really master what it is that you want to offer. So getting experience, really up leveling what it is you're offering is the secret to making it through stage 2 of business growth. And I guarantee anybody you're following who is a successful entrepreneur, they didn't just launch one thing once or sell one thing once and then say, okay, I'm done with that. I'm going to create something new. They're not creating new things all the time. They create signature offerings. They create something that they learn how to market extremely well, how to deliver an impeccable experience. They learn how to sell it with ease over and over and over again, right? So this is what you want to be focused on in that success stage. So what's the challenge in that success stage? For a lot of people, it's that feast or famine cycle. Now, if you're in the feast or famine cycle, I want you to comment here with me. Have you struggled with this? Have you had like your best month ever followed by your worst? The challenge here in the success stage is now you're officially in business. You know, you have clients coming and going. You have things you're selling and promoting, and trying to juggle all the moving parts can feel overwhelming at times. There's a lot that you have to do in order to make sure that you have consistent clients and cash flow. So if you want to get out of that feast or famine cycle, this is the stage where you really have to be putting systems in place, especially a marketing and sales system that helps you to continuously bring in clients and cash flow throughout the year. Now, what's happening in your marketing and sales in this stage of business growth? Well, this is where you may be shifting from primarily marketing and selling your offerings one-on-one, where you're having one-on-one conversations, you're meeting people on a one-on-one basis through networking or referrals, to now playing with one-to-many. Usually this shifts by taking your marketing from one-on-one to one-to-many. So going from just networking and referrals to now starting to create content, grow a list, be featured on podcasts and get interviewed and write guest posts. Start with your marketing one-to-many and maybe continue selling one-to-one, so having real conversations with people. And then you start to get to the point where you get enough of an audience that it makes sense to sell one-to-many. This is where the numbers actually matter, and understanding your conversion rates on how well you do, let's say, in a conversation versus how a typical conversion rate is for, let's say, an online launch. Typically, we're seeing most people, even if you're not a salesy person, even if you don't think you're a great salesperson, most entrepreneurs can actually, 25% of the time get a new client if they're getting on the phone or if they're having a Skype call with them. So that means you have 4 potential client conversations and 1 new person is becoming a client. Now compare that to an online marketing style launch where you're promoting just via email or just via a webinar or just via a video series. The conversion rates drop dramatically. You're lucky if 1 to 2% is what you achieve, and that's industry standard. Are there people who get above that? Sure, but there's a lot that goes into it. So that's why I say focusing on the shift between marketing and selling one-to-one to marketing and selling one-to-many is really a big deal, and it's something you have to be super aware of. Now, again, if you want to get this business growth checklist, make sure you type download in the comments below on this Facebook Live, or head over to my website at rachealcook.com so that you can get the entire business growth checklist and understand what each and every one of these things are. Okay, so let's flip back over, and I'm going to look at the checklist with you to talk about the scale and sustain stage of business growth. So this is the final stage. And honestly, very few people are ready to get to this stage. I tell people all the time, until you've got about 80% of the stage 2 tasks here checked off, you should not be stressing about these stage 3 activities, because they're going to distract you from putting the systems and the strategies in place that will make your business predictably profitable. So we have to make sure we're being smart about where we're putting our time and energy. Now, what is stage 3 all about? Stage 3 is scale and sustain. This is when you want to take your business from 6 figures to multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures. And there are so many ways you can scale your business. Now, the biggest thing I want to share with you, and I really want you to be thinking about if you're considering making that shift from the success stage, where again, you're paying yourself a comfortable salary, your business is predictably profitable, you might have a small team to help you support the day-to-day, but it's primarily you. And now you're thinking about shifting to the scale and sustain stage where you're really building a much larger business. There's a lot you have to consider here, okay? The biggest thing I want you to understand if you're considering shifting to the scale and sustain stage is you're no longer a solopreneur in this stage. You need to be thinking like a true CEO, like a true business owner. And that means getting out of your way and putting a lot of new pieces of infrastructure in place behind the scenes. So what is your focus in the scale and sustain stage? It is growth. You have a proven product, program, or service that delivers results that you can scale to $1 million or more without you actually having to work more hours. So what does that mean? That means either your product, program, or service is a passive product, program, or service. You've already created it. Your time and energy has already been put into it. It will not take more of your time and energy to sell that. It might take some more on the customer service side, but it won't take your time and energy. It means if you have a more leveraged offering, whether it is maybe group coaching or like my program, Sweet Spot Strategy and Online Mastermind, you can serve more people and it doesn't take a ton more of your time that you could easily scale to $1 million or beyond. Or maybe you are in a slightly different business model. You're offering done for you services or done with you services. Maybe you're in a situation where you could easily scale those services to $1 million or more by having other people deliver on those services. So maybe you're a designer and you have other designers working with you and they work on the designs for people. Or maybe you are a photographer and you have other photographers who work with you and they go do the photographing. So your focus in this stage is growth. It's taking something that's already made 6 figures or multiple 6 figures and scaling it much more. It means bringing in a team so that you don't have to be the person delivering on that product, program, or service. So what's the biggest challenge here? It is a business model change. This is huge, and this is something you really want to be thinking about. It means is you start shifting from delivering things that are primarily driven by you. It means you are going to need to now shift from one-to-one to one-to-many in almost every aspect of your business. So your programs have to be able to service a lot of people at the same time. Your marketing needs to be able to attract a much larger audience. Your sales needs to be able to convert to many, many people at the same time. Your marketing and sales strategies are primarily one to many at this stage of growth, unless you are charging super premium pricing. So let's say you have offerings that are $50,000 or $100,000. You might be the exception to this rule. So some people who I know are in corporate consulting or they work with very, very high end, let's say executives as a peak performance coach, like they might be charging $50,000 or $100,000 per client. But I know for my clients, for the majority of us, that's not the path we're going down. That's not our audience. So you have to really learn this whole new sales and marketing that's all about going from one-on-one to one-to-many. Okay, so again, let's take a peek at this business growth checklist and make sure we've covered all of the different stages of business growth. So you can see I'm just scrolling back up to get to my little check-offable portion. So these are the 3 stages of business growth. You have stage 1, startup. It's all about validating your product, program, or service, getting those first few sales in the door, and making sure you've laid a strong foundation for your business. Once you validated something, you have something that you know people are going to pay for, then you can start shifting into the success stage. The success stage is where you take that offering and you refine it. You make it incredible. You up-level the experience, which means you can up-level the prices of it. It means you can really focus on getting incredible results and then building the systems behind the scenes that deliver those results consistently. The systems that allow you to market and sell this product, program, or service over and over and over again. And when you build those systems behind the scenes, you're also able to bring in support. You're also able to bring in, whether it is a virtual assistant who's just manning the inbox and helping you out with the customer service side of things, or bringing in a tech team who makes sure everything is running smoothly for you. When you have that support, you're no longer trying to do all the things yourself. You have people who are helping you so that you can live a comfortable life. Now, this might be where you want to end up, and that is perfectly fine. I have no issues with people saying, you know what, I just want to replace my former salary and do work that I really love. If that's you, awesome. This is all you need to focus on. You don't need to stretch yourself and stress yourself out, honestly, over strategies that are going to take a lot bigger team, a lot more support, and a lot more of your time and energy to make that huge shift from having a primarily you-driven business model to now a completely different business model where you're doing so much more marketing and sales stuff. If you love working with your clients all the time and you don't love the marketing and sales stuff, it's going to be a little bit challenging for you to make that shift without the team to support it. So I hope this was helpful for you today. I love being able to share these pieces of the puzzle. And if you loved today's episode all about the Ultimate Business Growth Checklist and you had a chance to go ahead and download it, again, if you're live with me on Facebook, just type in download and it will be sent directly to your Facebook Messenger. If you love this, I would love to have you share it with anybody in your community you know is an entrepreneur and they are saying to you things like, I'm spinning my wheels, I don't know what to focus on next, where do I start? This checklist will make life so much easier for them, and they would be so grateful to you for sharing it, and I would be grateful to you for sharing it as well. So thank you so much for joining me today on Uncomplicate Your Business. Coming up in May, if you are on my email list, you got the big announcement, but we are kicking off today a whole new series. Today was just part one of a much bigger series called The Path to a Predictably Profitable Business. How to grow your business to 5, 10, and 15K months. This is something I'm super, super passionate about, and I know so many of you are ready for that. You're ready for that consistency. You're ready to know that your business can support you and your lifestyle with ease while also helping you do the work that you absolutely love. So we're going to be diving even deeper in the next few episodes. If you are on my newsletter list, you know that we are adding some extra times in May. I will not only be showing up on Thursdays, but also Tuesdays. So if you don't want to miss an episode of this series, The Path to a Predictably Profitable Business, How to Grow to 5, 10, and 15K months, make sure you've liked my Facebook page and turn on the notifications. I'll be going live at noon Eastern on Tuesdays and Thursdays in May, and I'd love to see you there. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm so honored you spent the last half hour with me, and I can't wait to share with you more of how you can reach those consistent 5, 10, and 15K months and the steps to take to get there in next week's episode on Tuesday, May 1st. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.